A Twin Cities family wants answers after they believe a psychiatrist went too far in prescribing medications to their son and brother.
We felt helpless, and we continue to feel helpless because of the lack of accountability.
Mike Ahrens died 18 months ago. WCCO found the doctor writing his prescriptions has been in trouble before. Tonight, Liz Collin investigates a psychiatrist who has been on the state's radar for decades and the upcoming changes to better track what medications Minnesotans take.
Mike had a huge heart.
Known for his generosity and signature smile, Mike Ahrens grew up the middle boy and a three-sport athlete in a tight-knit family.
Like we were typical siblings where we played together and fought together and grew up together.
It's now Mike's baby brother, John, who's left to wonder how they got here in a few short years.
We felt helpless.
After graduating from Eden Prairie High School, Ahrens went on to build one of the most successful window cleaning companies in the Twin Cities. But years of climbing ladders and weightlifting took their toll. Ahrens had hip surgery in 2011 at the age of 50.
I think that that's when his pain addiction started. I think any family is susceptible to it. And it started out very innocently enough.
His family had their suspicions. He'd be up all night, sleep during the day, and go days without answering his phone, all as his business started to take a dive.
Mike was stubborn and headstrong, that he didn't have a problem, and whatever problem he did have, he could fix on his own.
Finally, 3 years into his pill addiction, his parents and siblings staged an intervention. Ahrens told them he didn't need any help.
The doctor that was involved in the intervention promised us that Mike would not make it. He would die. He expected Mike to die within a year, and he was right.
A friend found Mike Ahrens dead in his Bloomington home in October 2015. His autopsy revealed he had heart disease and a history of multi-substance dependence, leaving his family to piece together how it started.
I can't imagine how someone couldn't become an addict with that much opportunity.
Inside Ahrens' house, they found hundreds of empty pill bottles, once filled with dozens of different types of prescription drugs. When they looked closer, one doctor's name appeared again and again.
I heard about his name for the first time just shortly after his death.
Dr. Farouk Abuzahab is an 85-year-old licensed psychiatrist. He's practiced for more than 50 years, currently out of this clinic on Lake Street in Minneapolis.
We can't talk about other people, though. It's against the law, the HIPAA law.
Dr. Abuzahab told us HIPAA prevented him from talking about Ahrens' case. But WCCO discovered the doctor has been surrounded by controversy and complaints for decades. Once a psychiatry professor at the University of Minnesota, Dr. Abuzahab took a woman off her medication for schizophrenia as part of a drug study. She committed suicide days later. In its investigation, the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice would suspend his license for 7 months as discipline for the disregard of the welfare of 46 patients, 5 of whom died in his care shortly afterward. In his latest complaint, the board found the doctor prescribed excessive quantities of medications for multiple patients. That investigation revealed in 7 cases Abuzahab's prescribing practices and procedures failed to meet the minimum standards.
We fully recognize that Mike was an addict, but he needed help.
WCCO found Dr. Abuzahab prescribed Ahrens at least 8 medications, mostly for psychiatric problems like anxiety and ADD, and the doctor made decisions for him that his family considered reckless. Ahrens got 3 DWIs in just 2 weeks' time for driving high on medications back in 2013. Dr. Abuzahab wrote a letter to the state to help him get his license back, saying Mike is fine to drive, provided he has passed the eye exam, written and road driving test.
Mike must have been driving in a state of intoxication for years. He was a danger to himself and others.
The executive director of the Board of Pharmacy, Cody Weiberg, examined Ahrens' prescription records for WCCO. Well, there is no evidence the drugs the doctor prescribed played a direct role in Ahrens' heart disease or death. Weiberg questioned why the psychiatrist would write him a prescription for tramadol, an opioid used to treat severe pain.
Minnesota is really in the grips of an opioid abuse and overdose epidemic.
Weiberg acknowledged it is not uncommon for someone recovering from an injury such as Ahrens' hip surgery to get addicted because of the drug's power.
The state is trying to do a better job tracking prescriptions to flag patients who doctor shop to fill multiple prescriptions in short periods of time. Under the current prescription monitoring program, every pharmacy must enter that information into a database daily. But as of July 1st, every physician will also need an account. But they won't be required to use it. And right now, just 40% of doctors in Minnesota do.
In Aaron's case, WCCO found at least 5 other doctors wrote him prescriptions. But because the prescription monitoring program isn't required, we don't know if Dr. Abuzahab knew that or not.
Ultimately, it is going to have to be the pharmacists and the prescribers that are actually taking care of patients that are going to have to use the tools that we make available to them.
Aaron's family made a formal complaint to the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice about his care more than a year ago. They have yet to hear anything back. The board's executive director declined WCCO's repeated requests to be interviewed.
We felt helpless, and we continue to feel helpless because of the lack of accountability. Somebody should be monitoring the drugs that are given out to our loved ones.
Liz Collin, WCCO 4 News.
Of the 8 million prescriptions filled each year in Minnesota, more than 3 million are for opioids. Under proposed guidelines, doctors would not be allowed to see patients on state health care programs if they keep prescribing too many painkillers. If you have a story for Liz to investigate, email her through tips@wcco.com.